And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, for another edition of That's a Bet podcast. You know who it is. It's your boy, Two T's, coming to you live from the Tab Studios. And I can't start the show. You know what? I got to bust a flow. Since we locked down in quarantine, my writing skills been on point. So I got to let you know with a flow, we about to go blast off this podcast because my co-host from H-Town about to let you know. But some people call him Willy Baby. But since Willy Baby is having a baby, what do we call him? People say it with me. Willy Baby, baby. What's good with it, Willy Baby, baby?
Same old stuff, man. I got my robe on today. The quarantine beard is still coming in, so I'm getting adjusted to this at home life. But overall, it's been good.
Hey man, look, man, it's that quarantine life is something, man. Look, I saw you with the robe as soon as I called you, man, and I was like, what? My boy Will over there bundled up, boy. Look,
yeah,
and I'm out here hot. I'm in my man cave. It's over the garage, so whatever temp it is outside, that's what it is in here, man. So
right.
We got to get it on and popping, man. I'm glad everything good over there with you. Wife good.
Oh yeah, we good. She down there watching that show, Blacklist. I hadn't been able to get into that though, but
wow.
Yeah.
You know what? I heard it was good, man. I might have to get up on that, man. Speaking of that, Will, real quick, man, this is kind of like a tangent thing. What shows would you recommend to the people right now, like maybe aren't mainstream, or even if they are mainstream, that you and the wife have been watching on Netflix and stuff, that you can kind of let them know what's up?
I mean, all this week, man, we be watching the shows, crazy shows. We've been watching Married at First Sight. Them folks on there crazy. They get married, they meet for the first time, and then they get married that day, right?
Yeah.
So we've been watching that. We watched, same old stuff as everybody. The Ozarks. She's watching Blacklist right now, and then I'll go through like HBO and I'll rewatch stuff. Like I rewatched The Sopranos. That's probably my favorite show of all time.
Ooh,
I love The Sopranos. That's a good one.
Okay.
So for if your wife hadn't watched that, that's another one. It takes a little time to get into, but once you in it, you locked in. So that's probably my favorite. I've gone back and watched a few of the Wire episodes as well, but
yeah,
overall right now we kind of I've been banging out a lot of, more so than watching shows. I've gotten back into the game. I played Fortnite all day yesterday.
Fortnite.
And I don't
wow.
even play Fortnite. That's for kids, but I got addicted to it. Yeah.
Chopping down trees.
Yeah, I'm playing Fortnite and the Warzone on Call of Duty. So if you're on Call of Duty, go ahead and add me. W Justin 13. So
okay, W Justin 13. Since we dropping gamer tags, go ahead and add your boy I Am Lock. It's spelled just like it said. Shout out to my boy Chris Gaston too, man. He in here on the checking in on the live stream. That dude's a beast in it. Me and him be playing Warzone on PS4. Well, we got to do that cross play, man. You got Xbox,
cross platform. Yeah.
Okay,
we can get on that.
We got to do that after the pod, man. But
all they got to do now is they got to do the cross platform on the 2K, and then I can whoop everybody. So
okay, the 2K king is in the building. All right, we're gonna see about that. But quick little tangent. I think the only show me and Courtney, let's see, platform. I'll give you guys that one's pretty dope. I don't know if you checked that out. Obviously, Tiger King was cool. I'm trying to think what else. Will Money Heist, that's lit. We've been watching that. Have you seen any of those?
Mm-mm.
You gotta, Money Heist is where it's at, bro. Money Heist be lit, man. It's definitely dope. So, probably those would be the main ones I'll start out just for now, just to give you guys some shows. But, let's transition a little bit here. We'll jump into the pod. Speaking of shows, there's going to be two individuals as we lead up to the NFL draft that are going to be pretty much the face of the draft. And they're both at the quarterback position. Surprise, surprise, Will. Tua Tagovailoa and Joe Burrow. The big debate, the big question, Will, who will have a better NFL career, Tua or Burrow? Now, Will, before we get to running and get off to the races here, I do want to let everybody know real quick, and we kind of forgot it. Follow your boy at Lockett2Ts on IG and at Pineapple Picks 2T on Twitter and follow the show at That's a Bet Podcast. We'll give them your social media real quick before we get over.
Twitter and Instagram, Group 13 Sports. Twitter and Instagram, Group 13 Sports.
Group 13 Sports. You know who it is, man. Willy J, man. But yeah, with that being said, will Tua or Burrow? Obviously, the top two quarterbacks in this year's draft. Arguably, two of the top three players in the draft. If you throw in Chase Young, we all know what happened to Tua last year. He had a major hip injury, kind of freak accident against Mississippi State, and his college career pretty much was cut short at Bama. Now, Joe Burrow, on the other hand, had that magical season for LSU. Obviously, Will, you're rocking the Louisiana hat right there. I got a weird feeling that's not a coincidence today. So with that being said, Will, let's hop right into it. Give me your rundown here. Joe Burrow or Tua Tagovailoa, who are you taking to have a better NFL career?
Well, I'll start by saying this. I love Tua Tagovailoa. He is probably my favorite quarterback in this draft. Been liking him since he, came in and brought the tie back against Georgia a couple years ago in the national championship. I like Tua, but when I really dug into it and looked at what each of these guys bring to the table, I have to roll with Joe Burrow as far as having the better career. I think, first of all, I'm gonna talk briefly about. Well, no, I'm just gonna talk about Burrow. I'll let you talk about Tua.
Okay.
And then we'll, go back and forth after you make your point. But
yeah,
as far as Joe Burrow is concerned, first of all, I love his physical attributes. When I'm looking at the perfect quarterback of how I'm crafting the quarterback, I don't want him any taller than about 6'4". He's in that 6'3" to 6'4" range or whatever. Okay. I love Trevor Lawrence at Clemson at 6'6". He's just a freak, but that's just a little bit too tall for me. I don't like my quarterbacks that tall. I still like them to be a little bit shorter so they can move around easier, even though Trevor Lawrence can move. But back to the Joe Burrow aspect. His hands were a little small, I saw at the combine, but at the same time, I think he's going to be okay, even with those conditions in the AFC North. And I'd say probably his biggest attribute is his football IQ. He comes from a family that's, he had three guys in front of him that played. All of them played at Nebraska. His dad, who was the defensive coordinator at Ohio for a number of years, and then his two brothers, they played at Nebraska as well. He's been around football all of his life. I love a guy that, that's been raised on football, been around it his whole life. And you can see it in his football IQ. When he drops back into the pocket, he's probably the best quarterback I've ever seen at being able to fool safeties, looking off safeties and going the other way with it. That's something you have to be able to do in the NFL. I think we saw that when they played Alabama against that NFL defense, what he was able to do with them. But at the same time, one of the biggest and the most the most glaring things I noticed about Joe Burrow, this is a guy who I tried to fade all year long. I tried to bet against LSU and fade him. And the one thing that I constantly noticed is that on the money downs, third down, third and, medium to long, if nobody is open, he's got enough athletic ability to be able to tuck the ball and run and pick it up with his feet, or get outside the pocket, readjust his feet, and deliver an accurate ball down the field. So as far as that's concerned, I love Joe Burrow. Now, getting back kind of to, his background information. I told you a little bit about how he comes from a football family. Mm-hmm. We're talking about a kid who was a two-time Ohio National Gatorade Player of the Year in the state of Ohio. Ohio is a football state, much more than the state of Hawaii. They play a lot of football in Ohio, and to be the two-time player as a junior and a senior, that's something. He's also a two-sport star in high school. Played basketball. I've always been a guy, I played all the sports growing up. Yep. With my athletes, I like for my athletes to play multiple sports, not only from a leadership aspect, it helps you, how to gravitate around people in different sports. And, the approach is still the same as far as winning is concerned. But as far as, helping lead your team to victories, that's huge. Footwork in basketball. I honestly believe that people that play basketball that transfer over to football, you can benefit from some of the footwork in basketball. Hence yourself, right?
Yeah.
But not only that, he was good in basketball. He had offers at mid-major school to play, Division I basketball. So he's a good athlete. I love that about Joe Burrow. And here's the other thing. When I'm looking to invest, $25-30 million in my quarterback, draft him number one overall. Just football players in general, or even if I'm hiring somebody at a job, I want somebody who's been in the fire, had to
Mm-hmm.
bounce back from adversity. You look at Joe Burrow, nothing against him. He went to Ohio State, and Ohio State being the football factory that it is, he got caught up in the depth chart, right?
Yep.
Um, that happens. He readjusted. He didn't quit. He didn't pout. He got his degree and he went down to LSU. And then we saw what happened from there. When he got to LSU, he
Yeah.
still had to deal with some adversity. He didn't get there until fall camp. They threw him right in and said, "You are the starter." And while they didn't really get a chance to see a lot of him and see what he could do from a
Yeah.
football standpoint, they just went ahead and, played LSU football that first year as a junior. They ran the football and played defense. So it was a modest year for him. 16 touchdowns, 5 picks.
Yeah.
Then they brought in Joe Brady the next year. Joe Brady is a guy who brought that Saints passing system. He was a passing game coordinator. They
Okay.
looked at what Joe Brady could do, and they built that offense around him, and you saw what happened from that point. So when you look at the NFL, you got to have a guy that's smart enough, IQ wise, who can lead, and be able to, if you bring in a new coordinator, be able to, switch up his approach and pick up the system, grasp it quickly, and be
Yeah.
able to play. Joe Burrow, I'm just going to go over his stats real quick. In 2018, without Joe Brady,
Okay.
just under 3,000 yards. So 2894 passing, 16 touchdowns, 5 picks, 58% completion rate. That's not great. 400 yards rushing, 7 touchdowns. But what you see with when you look at those stats is a guy that didn't make mistakes. Don't really know what kind of passing concepts they had at that time. But they played LSU football. He ended up capping the year off with a 5 touchdown performance against, I think it was UCF. So I think that's what got his confidence going into 2019.
Yeah.
And then when you look at 2019, when Joe Brady came to the table, I've never, and this is what really opened my eyes about him. I've never seen anything like this before. This is 15 games this past year.
Yeah.
5,600 yards passing, 60
Ooh.
touchdowns
Ooh.
to only 6 interceptions, a
Ooh.
76% completion rate, almost 400 yards rushing again, 368 with 5 touchdowns. He did all of this in 15 games. So when we talk about, you know, dealing with that adversity coming right into LSU the year before, they, continuing the historic LSU ground and pound attack and play defense,
Yeah.
putting up those pedestrian numbers, but not making mistakes. And then to follow it up and grasp the system and do what he did, we've never seen anything like that in college before. And I was thinking about something. When we had our podcast last week, when you talked about Cam Newton, Lockett,
Yeah. Yeah.
you said you're loyal to your guys and you're a big accolade guy. Well, let's talk a little bit about Joe Burrow's accolades last year, since that's what you like, right?
Okay.
National champion, Heisman Trophy, Maxwell Award, Walter Camp Player of the Year, Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award, Davey O'Brien Award, unanimous All-American, SEC Player of the Year, NCAA record holder for touchdown passes in the season with 60, over 6,000 yards of total offense.
Okay.
What more could you want? I mean, what more could you want from a guy? Like I said, I think he's the smartest player as far as football IQ is in the nation. No injury history. I had a chance. I watched his first game starting at LSU. I went to that game when they played Miami and Dallas. I said, who is this kid, making these plays on third down? I saw him. Even though the offense wasn't there, what they were running, you could see that he was a player. And
Yeah.
I'm sold now. I've always been a Tua guy, but after just looking at everything from top to bottom, I love Joe Burrow. And I think he could have, he could be a perennial Pro Bowler. So that's why I like Joe Burrow, man.
Well, I'm going to start this conversation off by saying you're wrong. First and foremost, I think you're all the way off the mark here. You went and got your little Louisiana hat. You came on to the show with a robe and all this kind of stuff. Just comfortable. Just know, okay, I guess it's going to be Burrow and you're going to convince me. But, well, I'm here to tell you something here. If Tua Tagovailoa does not injure his hip, ladies and gentlemen, period, we are not even having this discussion. This is a no-brainer, lock number one pick. The team probably would have already announced who they're picking number one. But the fact here that the Cincinnati Bengals, who do have the number one pick, will have not announced who they're going to draft at number one, should be even more of a reason why you should lean towards Tua Tagovailoa. His hip is healing just fine. I mean, according to reports last 2 weeks, gotten CT scans on his hip, saying that hip is way ahead of schedule. He's already working out with trainers to it, and I'm talking about Tua. But I want to dive into accolades first, since we want to talk about that, and I want to kind of drift to Joe Burrow here. We talked about all those awards and accolades that Joe Burrow had last year, right? But we have to talk about his pass catchers first, right? A lot of people in this world are getting caught up on the fact that, you know, Joe Burrow was amazing. They're calling him the meteor kid, right? Because last year was what? It was a flash. Wow. 1 year, the greatest year in college football history. But I want to run off some stats for you, and then I'm going to give you a name. The SEC record holder for receiving touchdowns in the season, 20. SEC holder for receiving yards in the season, 1780. Blitnikoff winner. Unanimous All-American. First team All-American AP. First team SEC. 2019 SEC Player of the Week. 6 weeks. You guys want to know who that player is? Well, you want to take a guess at who that guy is?
One of Joe Burrow's receivers because he got him the ball.
Yes, Jamar Chase. Yes,
okay,
you're exactly right.
One of Joe Burrow's receivers. Keep going.
Yep. So let me I just wanted to start with that, right? Let me give you his wideouts. Justin Jefferson, first round draft pick. Terrace Marshall would have been a first round, he's a first round pick in 2021. Thaddeus Moss, second to third round pick before he breaks his foot. Tight end, Randy Moss's son. He's going to be good in the NFL. And Jamar Chase, who is a first round pick in 2021. He was only a sophomore, and he's a sophomore putting up numbers like that. Got 1 more year at LSU. Okay, so I'm gonna give you his receiver core. Now, Will, you're making that face.
We're gonna talk about Alabama's players after that. But
yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and get there. I see the face you're making. Let me run down Bama's wideouts. Let me give you. So Tua did have weapons as well. He had Jerry Jeudy, first round draft pick. Yep. Henry Ruggs, first round draft pick. Yep. Devontae Smith, their leading receiver, who decided to come back. He will be first round next year. And Jalen Waddell, who's actually projected as well to be a late first, second round pick.
And he's got a first round offensive tackle in Jedrick Willis as well.
Yes, Jedrick Willis, you are correct.
I'm looking at the first round picks for this year coming up. Alabama has more. Keep going.
You're right. You're exactly right. But I say that to say this. At the end of the day, when you look at Tua and Burrow, if you have to say this before you say the next sentence, if you have to say, if he did not, and then follow that with the statement, that lets me know that player is better than the player that will come. So if he did not get hurt, Will, if Joe Burrow did not have Jamar Chase, if Joe Burrow did not have Thaddeus Moss, if Joe Burrow did not have Terrace Marshall, if Joe Burrow did not have Justin Jefferson, would he have put up those numbers? Let me ask you that real quick. Would he put up those same numbers?
If they didn't have him as a quarterback, would they have put up those numbers? I hate to go back to 3 months ago, but I'll just ask you again. If my aunt had balls, she would be my uncle. Okay? I should have to go back to 3 months and explain that to you. Listen to what you're saying right now.
Okay.
If Tua didn't have Jerry Jeudy as a receiver, if he didn't have a first round draft pick at offensive tackle, matter of fact, let's just go from the top. Who has the better head coach, Alabama or LSU?
Alabama.
Okay. Who has the better defense, Alabama or LSU?
Alabama.
Okay. Who is the better program overall, Alabama or LSU?
Alabama.
Who's had the better running backs the last couple of years, Alabama or LSU?
Alabama.
Who has had the? Let's think about it this year. You said Tua got hurt this year.
Okay.
What about last year when Tua was not hurt and he played all the way through the year? Who had the better season last year, Tua or Joe Burrow this year when both of them were healthy? Who had the better season?
Joe Burrow had a better year.
Okay. Alabama, they played Clemson last year in the national championship and got blew out, right?
Mm-hmm.
You faded Alabama.
Yep.
Alabama's team that last year, I could argue was better than LSU's team this year. And guess what? Clemson hardly graduated anybody and played LSU in the national championship this year. And what happened to them?
They got beat.
Okay, all right. So when you look at that from top to bottom, matter of fact, what injury did Joe Burrow have this year or last year in his 2 years of starting?
None.
Okay. Tua, broken nose. Tua, 2 ankle surgeries. Tua,
okay.
Broken thumb. Tua, hip surgery. You mentioned something about the reports are that His hip is ahead of schedule and he looks great. Let me just ask you something, Lockett.
Okay.
In the history of you listening to injury reports, have you ever heard of a doctor saying, you know what, I don't know if I did a good job on that hip. He might not make it. He might not be able to walk. Have you ever heard that?
Never
Every
heard it. You
every
right?
doctor every time is going to tell you the surgery went great. I guarantee you the injury reports are coming from his agent too. What do you think they're gonna say? Oh, he's still limping in the house a little bit. So I'm not gonna listen to any report from any doctor that he trots out there. I'm gonna wait until I hear something from independent doctors or from team doctors. It doesn't. I don't want to hear anything about what Tua's doctors have to say. Okay.
Okay. All
Um,
right.
and then the other thing I want to ask you as well, man, with Tua this past year. Well, I saw an Instagram post you put up there, and you
Okay.
said, they played against each other
Yep.
last year, and we
Yep.
saw the stats, right? Two or three
Yep.
for 400 yards, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, when we look at the quarterback rating for that game,
Okay.
Burrow was at 97,
Okay.
Tua was at 72.
Okay.
Tua was 21 for 40 for
Yep.
418 yards and 4 touchdowns and one pick. I went back at because I remember the game, but I just wanted to go ahead and back my receipts up. When I went
Okay.
and looked at that game, Tua threw an 85-yard bomb with 1 minute left in the game. LSU was up by 10 points the whole game. Two scores. He threw an 85-yard bomb. LSU was in, such a soft coverage. They didn't care. They were up by two. I mean, they didn't just let them run in, but they weren't putting pressure on them or anything like that. So those
Okay.
numbers don't tell the complete story. Tua was 21 for 40. That is not good.
Wait. No, let me
Burrow
stop you
was
right there.
Burrow was 31 for 39 for
Okay.
393 and 3 touchdowns, no picks. Okay.
Okay.
21 for 40 is not good.
All right. So let's do this. Before Tua got hurt, the quarterback rating between the two in the country, Tua Tagovailoa was first. In college is a little bit different. Their ratings a little bit, they calculate a little bit differently. So he was 206.9 as far as QB rating value wise. Joe Burrow was 202 before he got hurt. That with the same
I'm
amount of
talking about the
games.
game they played against each
I
other.
know, I understand. He outdid him a little bit that game. You throw an interception, your QB rating is going to drop. Well, let's
He was
just.
21 for 40.
What are you saying? He was off to start the first half. They were down. I mean, there's no getting around that.
Okay. Who looked like the better player in that game?
Joe Burrow looked like the better player.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll say it as easy as possible. I mean, it's easy as pie. But let me say this. This is the big reason here. I think this is going to determine. Let me kind of jump back into my synopsis here. So I have 4 key points here, Will. The 4 knocks on Tua: health with the asterisk with the big star next to it, because that is very important, right? That's one. They also say Tua has an okay arm. Okay. How many quarterbacks in the NFL right now that are starting have okay arms? I can go down the list. Most notably, Drew Brees. Peyton Manning, his career had an okay arm. Even I'm thinking of what's my guy from Andy Dalton, okay arm. Who else is starting right now? Okay arms. I mean, you guys, we can name okay arms, so you can scratch that off. It's not about your arm strength; it's more about timing. And small frame and height was number 3 that I put down. Will. Tua is he's not as big as Joe Burrow. They say, but he's a little bit chubby, quote unquote. They're trying to give all these knocks on him. And he's not the fleet of foot. He's not a great runner. He can get around in the pocket a little bit, but he's not great at running. And number 4, I put blank, because the unknown of what his injury history is, and is it really healing right? I had some people compare this injury to the Bo Jackson injury when he hurt his hip. It was very similar to it. A lot of people say it was the same injury, but you got to think about the time and age. Back then, they didn't have the type of surgery procedures that they have for hips as they do now. So with that being said, I think you really can't compare that. I mean, that's apples to oranges as far as the technology they have for healing that. Back to the small frame and height, Will. Y'all can miss me with the small frame and height. Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray. There's plenty of small frame guys that are smaller than Tua right now that are doing pretty darn good in the NFL and look good. I mean, so don't worry about. You can miss me with the small frame and height. Okay, arm. I come back to that again. One of the best throwers in the NFL right now, still to this day, is Drew Brees. His arm is just average at best, even coming out of Purdue when he played for the Chargers. Tua has shown with this completion percentage of 70, a career completion percentage of 70.9% and 31, that's last year. He had 70.9%, 31 touchdowns and 3 interceptions before he got hurt. Career-wise, he's 72.3% career, Will. Now, Joe Burrow's career-wise at LSU is right around the 74 because he had 78.9 last year, which is ridiculous. I mean, we know he went crazy. Timing, accuracy, that's very hard to coach. Like, if you're inaccurate, Will, as a quarterback, to teach you to be accurate, I mean, it's harder than someone trying to teach you. I mean, I can teach somebody, like, let's put it this way. Mike Leach said it best. You can teach a shortstop, Will, how to become a quarterback faster than you can teach a quarterback how to become accurate. That's just facts. And Tua is already accurate. Joe Burrow, I don't know, Will. One year, Will. A 1 year showing of being elite.
Tua hadn't even played 2 full years because he's been hurt. If you look at all the games he played, he hadn't even played 2 full seasons. So So you can't talk about the time because Joe Burrow's played longer than Tua has, and Joe Burrow is very accurate. I know you saw that last year. He's very accurate. Everything he was hitting across the middle, all of that, he's accurate.
I mean, but
so you can't talk about Tua's accuracy and then try to knock Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is accurate.
Man, I'm like to be honest with you, dog. I'm gonna be honest with you. I put a lot more weight on Coach Brady than Burrow, because even looking at the year where Brady was with the Saints, those 2 years that he was with the Saints, right? Drew Brees had 2 of the best passing years in NFL history, posting over 5,000 yards. So to the 2 years that he was there, had the most touchdowns in those years. I remember those games because he was shredding the Falcons. He goes to LSU and he puts another meteor type season for a kid that pretty much wasn't even on the radar before the season, Will. So my thing is this. Tua being hurt is almost a blessing in disguise. And y'all got to hear me out here. His injuries, playing through tough times, having ankle surgeries, coming back faster, getting on the field, back in the wars with his team, won over the locker rooms. And one thing, Will, we've talked about in the NFL, the big thing, these teams that win are teams that has a locker room that can be galvanized either by a player, by a coach. And because it's guys making millions of dollars, what is going to bring you together to play for one cause? Tua, I think, has earned the respect of people in the locker room, coaches, all that type of stuff. He's tough. Now, the sad thing is, Will, to be a tough football player, you have had to gone through injuries and bounce back. So I totally understand that argument. But Tua, to me, his accuracy, his ability to hang in the pocket, make the tough throws. We really didn't see Burrow go through any adversity. Will, name a game last year, Will, that Joe Burrow went through some adversity, either had to bring LSU back, was getting hounded in the pocket, sacked, had people laying, getting thrown at his feet.
Watch the Auburn game.
Okay, I'm saying, tell me about one, and then break that down.
Go back and watch the Auburn tape. They won that by 3 points, man. That was a close game, and he was hounded all game. Okay, I'm gonna go look at the stats now.
So while you're looking that up, so one game, okay, guys, one game.
What adversity has Tua faced? They blow everybody out.
What do you mean? All the battles with Auburn they've had, that he's been in it. I mean, the versus of him bringing the team back off the bench in the national championship against Georgia.
He's only played against Auburn one time. He didn't play this year because he was hurt.
Okay.
Last year, they blew Auburn out. They blew him out. The year before
LSU battles. He's had. Tua has had more in-game moments of adversity than Joe Burrow has had. That's not even a debate. You can't even debate that, Will. It is what it is. Tua is the type of guy, I think, with his background coming from Hawaii, I think he will be able to get an NFL locker room to follow him, go into these wars, and galvanize the locker room better than a Joe Burrow. I think a lot of guys still have question marks over their head about Joe. If you're not LSU fan, you're going to have question marks.
Joe did exactly what you're talking about. He did that at LSU this past year. He definitely galvanized the locker room. He is there without a question. He is their leader.
Of course.
If you speak to the guys at LSU, they galvanized around him, just like you're talking about Tua.
When you win 15 games, you're the Heisman winner, you're putting up national records, he galvanized the nation because all the media was on him, of course. But I'm talking about those moments deep down in the locker room when you got guys making 20, 30 million, making more money than you, and you got to go up to him and say, hey, get on my back, man. I'm going to lead you. I'm the young cat, but I'm going to get you on my back. I don't think Joe Burrow is going to rub NFL players the right way. His cockiness, man, I don't like it. I don't think he's as humble as he could be. I think he has a lot of Cam Newton in him. I think he's a front runner. I personally do. I mean, I've already heard some of his comments about the Bengals. You're about to get an opportunity to come to the greatest moment, have the greatest moment of your life, get drafted in the NFL. And when the first thing comes out your mouth is, hey, I may or may not want to play in Cincinnati, but, we'll leave that up to when we get to that moment. What?
Well, they doing it to him. So by not saying they're not taking him and saying, hey, we might trade our pick. You want to talk about me? I'm going to do it to you too. You're the Bengals. Relax.
So now tit for tat is okay as a professional?
It is. Eli Manning did it. Eli Manning did it.
But Eli Manning did it. Did you hear his comments? So why don't you want to go to the San Diego Chargers? Well, currently right now, me and my daddy, we're going to leave that comment alone. We don't want to really speak on it. We just going to continue with the draft. He was rare. He didn't give an answer. He went around it. Joe Burrow is the type of guy, he's going to be right there in front, cocky, the Baker Mayfield type of guy. And we've seen where that's gotten Baker Mayfield.
You just talked about how good Baker Mayfield was. So
he is good. No, Baker Mayfield is good. I'm not saying Joe Burrow isn't good. That's not the question here. The debate is Tua or Burrow, who will have a better career. Career-wise, I think Tua will have a better career because he has the intangibles, in my opinion, that Joe Burrow we've only seen a little bit of his sample size. We've seen more sample size of Tua in the sense of when you have a guy like Nick Saban talking so highly about Tua, and guys in the locker room talking so highly about his character.
Sample size.
Yeah. I mean,
Burrow has played more games than Tua in their career.
If he doesn't get hurt this year, that's not even in the question, though.
But we're talking about sample sizes. Burrow has done it for longer. He played longer than Tua.
He's played. I'm talking about valuable football time, man. That's
okay. Do you remember week 2 when LSU played Texas? Was that adversity at all in that game?
Yeah, he had to make a drive. Okay, I asked you earlier. Give me the game. So Auburn and Texas.
They beat Auburn 23-20. Was that adverse at all in that game?
Yeah.
Do you remember that game?
Yeah.
Okay.
A little bit. He had a little bit. It wasn't necessarily.
Do you want me to go to Alabama schedule? You want me to go to Alabama schedule?
Yeah, let's go to Bama's.
Okay. All right.
We'll pull that up. I'll pull it up right now with you.
Alabama played a weak cupcake schedule. I don't think there was any the only adversity Tua faced was when he broke his hip. That's it. They didn't face and when LSU was beating the hell out of them. That's the only adversity they faced.
Nope.
Okay, I'm looking at 2019. Let's see. They played Duke first game, New Mexico State, South Carolina, Southern Miss, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Tennessee, Arkansas, LSU, Mississippi State, Western Carolina, Auburn. Where in that do you see adversity at? Besides when they lost to LSU.
I'm looking at let's see, the first, what was that, week 4? The A&M game. No. When they play A&M. I just got thrown off here with my
They beat A&M by 20 points, man. Come on, man.
But this is no. But even in those games, I'm trying to think of the game exactly, Will. From playing football, there are moments in games where, like you said, third downs, all that type of stuff, you got to make plays. I'm not saying Joe Burrow didn't do those didn't have those type of plays, but I just think from how Tua stepped onto the national stage, arguably in the biggest moment that you can possibly have as a freshman, coming off the bench and trying to do the impossible, lead your team to a national championship cold. And for him to step up in that moment to do that showed me the type of guy Tua was from day one. He's had a lot of injuries. Yes, he's had to bounce back. And that's the thing is weird, Will, because it's like, I don't hate Burrow at all. Like everything you're saying about Burrow, like I 100% agree with. Kind of vice versa. Like you love Tua, and it's literally like it's a red apple or a green apple. They're both sweet. They both, are juicy. They both, will quench you. It's just a matter of who do we think will have a better pro career. And I just think Tua, because it's that little bit of sauce.
What happened in the big game when they played Clemson in the national championship? What happened in that big game with Tua? Because that was a big moment.
Was it 2 pick sixes, right?
I know he threw 2 picks. He didn't look good against a
One
lot of
pick six.
NFL
Yeah.
talent.
Yeah. So if we had to pick a one game where I say Tua looked human, it was that game. I think he went 22 for 34, 295 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 picks in that game.
They lost 44-16, so that's got something to do with their defense too. But he threw a pick 6 or 2 in that game.
Yeah, he definitely did. He threw a pick six, but then he also threw a couple nice balls to Jerry Jeudy. He flashed a little bit there, but I think at that point, when you're a one-dimensional team and Clemson with that defense, Clemson was the LSU from 2 years ago, pretty much. In that scenario, went 15-0.
Clemson was LSU this year. They blew everybody out, and LSU blew them out.
Exactly.
And I'm sorry, this Alabama team. I'm sorry, man. That team last year was very good. I thought they were gonna beat Clemson.
Yeah.
And for them to get blown out like that, it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth, man.
Yeah. No, I feel you, man. I feel you. I mean, so for me, Will, I just think if Tua can survive the draft process of people doubting him and talking about his injuries, he's shown that he is really an elite quarterback. Will Joe Burrow leap like his leap year? I call it the leap year. Go under a microscope more the closer we get to the draft, because I mean, Burrow's a little bit older if you want to be technical, but then you kind of wash that out because Tua's been hurt. So in actuality, his body is older. I mean, it's really splitting hairs. I just think at the end of the day, I think Burrow's flash in the pan type of season hasn't shown success over time in the NFL. Like, I mean, we can go back to some of the guys. Who's a guy had a 1 year? Who was a one?
Carson Palmer.
Carson Palmer.
Cam
he
Newton.
Did okay.
Cam Newton.
He
played 1 year.
Okay, pretty decent. But not like Joe's though. I mean, it wasn't that epic, man. I mean, this dude, he broke every.
Listen, nobody had a season like Joe Burrow. So we won't be able to name anybody that did that.
But what I'm saying is there have been plenty of the thing is this. I think what I'm trying to say is at the quarterback position, we haven't seen anything this epic. I mean, we've seen
nobody. This is the first time we've seen this, so we're not going to see that.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying, comparing him to like defensive guys that we've seen come out of nowhere, like guys in college who had 10 sacks, something crazy, and then they never pan out in the NFL type of thing, flash in the pan type of guys. I'm drawing blanks on some of the names. I wish I could have.
I'll give you one, Aaron Curry.
Ooh, well, Curry wasn't playing with him. I mean, Curry had the Brandon Roy disease. I mean, degenerative knees. You can't do nothing about it. So it's if AC isn't hurt, if Curry doesn't have that issue with his knees, there's no debating. I mean, I think he would have been like an elite NFL player because the first couple of years he was just fine. It's just they put him at the wrong position. You know what? That might be a good pod next, man. We're gonna do that for y'all. We're gonna go and find out
the biggest bust.
The biggest bust pod. Yes. Because I mean, if you look at it where Curry was drafted, he is in that category. So but yeah, man. So Will, for me, I'm rocking with Tua. I know you're on Burrow, and I kind of just have to leave it at that. First. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, at first I was on Burrow, then I went to Tua, so we've both been going kind of back and forth. But with that being said, Will, I mean, do you got any last little nuggets for me for Burrow?
Well, this is what I would say.
Okay.
I don't think you can go wrong with either player. I think Tua will be a very good player. We were just put in a position where we had to argue for one or the other, right, for the show's sake. Yeah. What I will say with Tua is we don't know exactly what's going on with that hip.
Yeah.
So it's a degenerative issue. That's what I read. Yep. So that means, it might not ever be the same. That doesn't mean he's not going to be a good player. That means that maybe his apex is for 8 years. Maybe his apex is, a little bit higher than Joe Burrow's apex is, but maybe Joe Burrow does it for a longer period of time because he doesn't have the hip issue. Yeah. So it comes down to what you look for in your quarterback. Like I said, I love Tua to death. I hope the Dolphins take Tua if he's there. I'm a Dolphins fan, so I hope that they get Tua. But if I'm the Bengals, when you look at the kid that's right down the street, he grew up in Athens, Ohio. That's right down the road. It's not too far from Cincinnati. I would be looking at Joe Burrow. But to be honest, I don't think Andy Dalton is bad. I think maybe you franchise tag Andy Dalton for 1 year. Well, you already did it to AJ Green, but maybe you bring Andy Dalton back on a 1 year deal and you take
Yeah,
Chase Young, because Andy Dalton didn't play bad. They didn't have anybody on offense last year, so
yeah.
that's probably what I would do if I was Cincinnati. But if I'm an NFL team in need for a quarterback and I'm making this big investment, I'm sorry, the drop off. But if you think Tua is better, I don't think the drop off is huge. So I'd rather go with the healthier, bigger player that hadn't had the injury history. So I would take Burrow.
Okay, interesting. So look, guys, you just got a insight into the GM that they call Willy J. Breaking that down, and if I was a GM, I would tell people kind of the opposite. I think the fact that Tua has shown he's come from a better program, Nick Saban type of program. I think he's ready to be a pros pro right now. And if you ask you that question, if he did not have this injury problems, that he would be the clear cut number one prospect in this draft. I'm the type of GM to say, hey, let's roll with him for the simple fact if I can get 5-6 years out of him, and he galvanizes my locker room and changes this team, I think I'll roll with him. And I'm just not a big one hit wonder type of guy. I don't even listen to one hit wonder type of music, Will, if you want to get more technical. So,
Oh, wait. The only reason why he's not a one hit wonder is because he stepped into a situation at Alabama where that program, that offensive scheme has been the same the entire time. Guys can't control their coaching strategy that's, putting them on the field and making the plays. So I guarantee you, if Burrow would have went to Alabama and been there for 2 years, it would have been the same type of year. The
so he
only
would have
reason why
came in at Bama too with Jalen there.
I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about if he had an Alabama type of style of spread. That's all I'm saying. If Tua was in a wide open spread attack from the minute he took the first snap, Joe Burrow stepped into a situation where they wanted to ground and pound it the whole time. So
Okay,
if
I give you that.
Brady was with LSU the whole time that Burrow was there, the numbers would have been the same, and it would have been a two hit wonder. Then you would have said you don't like 2 hits. You would have said he need to do it for 4 years. So for me, I think it's all about look at Carson Palmer. He was awful at USC his first 3 years. Pete Carroll comes in there the last year. They build a pro style offense that fit what he could do, and he ended up winning the Heisman Trophy. I think this is the same thing with with Burrow. He's going to have a good career as long as the team can build a system around him that fits what he does best. So we'll see if Zach Taylor can do that with Cincinnati.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll definitely see, man. But yeah, well, this was fun, man. I had a lot of fun with this one. Oh, snap. Willie J. It's music time, man. Look, we done warmed you up. Well, you might have to come up out that road now.
I'm telling you, man.
Y'all know what it means when that music comes on, man. Willie J, gonna take us home, man.
Look, I'm actually gonna bet a couple games today. I'm betting on the Madden. I already saw something that I like, so I'm taking that principle into use. I'm putting it into use. If you see a bet, make a bet. That's a bet.
That's a bet. Hey, for Willie J, I am Locket 2 T's here. We will see you guys next time on That's a Bet podcast. Probably have one here in the next couple of days. We'll see where we get on the popping wheel. But hey, if you guys want to know who Willie J might be running with in this esports betting, man,
Follow my Twitter.
follow him on Twitter. He may post that on there for you guys. I'm gonna have to go and jump in there and see who he likes too. My boy went crazy on something yesterday. We're gonna keep that quiet though. But yeah, man, for 2 T's, that's Willie J, man. We'll see you guys next time on That's a Bet podcast. Hey, if we don't talk to you, then you ain't heard from us. Peace out.